I've always been led by questions, but sometimes a simple question can lead to big answers. One question in particular has taken me on a nearly 10-year journey. How did menthol cigarettes become the black cigarette? My map of answers formed into a short film, Black Lives, Black Lungs. What started as a question about one product turned into an exploration of how an entire industry, in broad daylight and for decades without oversight, wielded its immense power at the cost of black health. As I documented the past, I began to see movement in the present acknowledging the harms of big tobacco. Movement that I thought would right the wrongs of the past.
It has been more than a decade since the US banned cigarettes with flavors that help make them more appealing, especially to kids. But the most popular flavor got a special exemption, and that may be about to change.
The FDA's expected plan to ban menthol in cigarettes would be a victory for advocates who note the tobacco industry has targeted the black community with menthols for decades.
It's making menthols cheaper in black communities, more price discounts in black communities, strategic partnerships with black-led organizations, the Cool Jazz Festival, really a variety of ways to really focus on transforming menthol into a black cigarette.
I finally began to see the industry's power fade. Or so I thought. In a blink of an eye, the industry had managed to regain its footing, attract new generations, and protect its future. All with a new product that served as a golden loophole. After decades of successful work by public health to make the harms of traditional tobacco known, a new fight had already begun. I started thinking about a whole new set of questions and found myself going back to the past for clues. Now, the puzzle is clear to me. I cannot tell the story of America's first great enterprise, big tobacco, without telling the story of colonization, slavery, and capitalism. The true origins of the actual tobacco plant are far removed from the commercialized, chemical-laced product we know today. Just as colonizers stole land and resources from indigenous people when they invaded and pillaged North America, they also stole a sacred plant, tobacco. Many indigenous people view tobacco as sacred. However, unsurprisingly, indigenous people soon began to see the industry appropriate their culture when it became convenient to their bottom line. To distract from the additives and chemicals they use to make their products more addictive, decades of industry marketing has attempted to frame their products as natural, fresh, and organic, using caricature and appropriation to do so.
When we colonized the states, we took commercial tobacco away from indigenous populations. We decided that we wanted to kidnap and abduct black families from various parts of Africa to come and to grow it and to harvest it and to manufacture it and to eventually use it.
The punchline here is the United States was founded on the genocide of the American Indian people and the enslavement of Africans. And that enslavement was based on the tobacco franchise, which became a worldwide franchise. So some people would say that tobacco and racism is baked into the DNA of the United States.
As I was conducting research for this film, I came across Dr. Damaris B. Hill's words in Ibram Kendi's 400 Souls.
1634 through 1639. Tobacco. Damaris B. Hill. The Indians tell the Africans that the English have proven to be liars since the first lot, and that the latest lie is only the Africans can keep the Spanish tobacco alive. The lie is that the Africans are the only ones who can cut the tobacco at the base and survive the stalk.
Flavors are at the center of Big Tobacco's playbook. Menthol is a flavor. The chemical compound masks the harshness of tobacco and, as the CDC warns, makes it harder to quit. A 2009 law outlined all flavors in cigarettes, except menthol. Menthol disproportionately impacts black people, and only a successful 50-plus year campaign has transformed the flavor into an untouchable beast in both cigarettes and e-cigarettes.
Well, let's be clear, it was a nicotine delivery device, and nicotine is one of the most addictive products that we know, and it's being pushed, even though initially by small groups of people, we saw that the tobacco industry was getting involved. So it became clear pretty early on that what we were dealing with was the second movement, cigarettes being the first movement, e-cigarettes now being the second movement of the tobacco industry.
Tobacco companies advertise cigarettes as being fresh, cool, and a sign of independence and freedom. Doctors were even used to advertise cigarettes, going as far as claiming that menthol cigarettes helped asthma. Now, the introduction of e-cigarettes followed a similar path. E-cigarettes were marketed as modern, sleek, and innovative way to consume nicotine. In 1994, 7 tobacco industry executives were called before Congress to answer questions under oath.
I don't believe that nicotine or our products are addictive.
25 years later, the co-founder of Juul was also called in front of Congress to testify about Juul's products under oath.
Put simply, Juul Labs isn't big tobacco. We are here to eliminate its product, the cigarette.
However, 7 months before this hearing, Altria, maker of Marlboro and largest tobacco company, purchased a $12.8 billion stake in Juul.
Moving from smoking to potentially less harmful choices. And from being known as a tobacco company to being recognized as a tobacco harm reduction company.
I've been aware of e-cigarettes as a potential harm reduction approach. But when the e-cigarettes started to be flavored, I knew that they were probably moving away from cigarettes and even menthol cigarettes and moving towards another product.
With the explosion of e-cigarettes on the US market, the industry began rebranding in an attempt to profit not only from traditional cigarettes, but also from the proposed solution, e-cigarettes. That's where the industry's focus is. The future.
It was very frustrating seeing the rollout of the e-cigarettes, and I really blame the FDA because they were asleep at the switch and let these products just proliferate all over our country.
I think somewhere in my sophomore and junior year, I remember I would be walking on campus and I would just smell like cotton candy, or I would smell like something like fruity. It hit me like later, I'm like, that's like an e-cigarette, like the smell of like the flavors.
I used to, in my lectures, say, you know, if cigarettes were created today, they would never be allowed to be on the market. And then the e-cigarette industry came along and they made a liar of me.
And the mods and the tank devices, I knew that there would be a problem, but I was thinking, not so much, because there's so much work in using it. So only a specific population is going to use that regularly, until Juul came out, quite honestly.
Teachers wanted us to come out and really talk about and educate their students and some of their school leaders around, you know, this thing called Juul, right? It really kind of overtook the market.
I saw the packaging and immediately I was like, this is for kids.
Yeah.
They can say it's not, but it is. This looks like an Apple product.
Yes.
It's very sleek. If you can have access to nicotine 24/7 and it does not irritate your throat, people cannot smell it, you have no incentive not to use it, and it looks like it's for kids, we have a huge problem on our hands.
The way in which e-cigarette companies like Juul wield their money to buy influence and protect their reputation is lifted straight out of the big tobacco playbook.
I think what has happened, particularly in the last 8 years or so, has been the rise of the tobacco industry funding black mouthpieces to speak for them and put out lies about this.
Now, e-cigarette companies are dusting off this very same charm offensive to protect their products. In 2019, Juul went on a black hiring spree at the same time as federal officials and public health experts were warning that their products targeted young people. First, the company secured a former head of the NAACP, then a board member of the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation, and finally, a top Obama civil rights liaison. Shortly after this hiring spree, the New York Times reported that Juul was providing $7.5 million to Meharry Medical College.
Meharry Medical College is a unique institution. It is one of 4 Black medical colleges in the country. It is significant in its contributions to producing Black doctors, Black veterinarians, dentists in this country, as well as public health professionals. This particular donation is in direct conflict with the mission of the institution. And while I'm frustrated by that, because we've been doing a lot of work to talk about the impact of Juul, how they were targeting young people through their ads, how they are, promoting their flavored products. The institution is a tobacco-free campus. And so this policy means that you're not going to take funds from these institutions, but also your mission is to focus on addressing health disparities, and taking this donation is in direct correlation of perpetuating those disparities.
Juul aligning itself with one of the country's only Black medical schools is a clear attempt to improve the industry's reputation and buy protection. It's true. Harm reduction is a proven public health strategy focused on providing evidence-based, lower harm alternatives for those who don't quit harmful substances. But in recent years, the tobacco industry has co-opted the term as a way to introduce new nicotine products to attract new users. While e-cigarettes and other non-combustible nicotine products may help adults who are trying to quit smoking, for young people who have never smoked, they are just another pathway to a potential lifetime of nicotine addiction. Big Tobacco is attempting to profit off of the problem they created by positioning themselves as a solution.
I never saw e-cigarettes as the savior for smokers. And we need to quit. We don't need to switch. We're not trying to take our people and make them lifelong customers of Juul.
Here's a harm reduction approach right now. Let's reduce the amount of marketing that are in Black and brown neighborhoods. Why don't we try that? Let's try to restrict sales. So there are a whole lot of things that we can do in terms of harm reduction. We don't need to peddle more drug devices.
The first great American enterprise, Big Tobacco, has been alive and well ever since the first tobacco seeds were planted in Virginia in 1610. Now they have new and sleek products, but the industry is never far from its origin. By expanding product portfolios, attracting younger customers with e-cigarettes, and spending billions to improve industry reputation, Big Tobacco is attempting to distract the public and regulators from its true origins and goals. But we will not let them get away with it. Our collective power is growing. Our people are not new to holding industries accountable. Understanding origins is our path to be stewards for our communities. On watch, so history doesn't have to repeat itself.